Imagine living your life after 50 and feeling energized and excited about your future. Welcome to the Women in the Middle podcast, the podcast for women who are ready to figure out what they want and create the life they deserve. Here's your host and master certified life coach, Susie Rosenstein.
Hey there, today's episode is all about celebrating episode 400 with Podcast-thon and the amazing folks at Cape May Marine Mammal Research Center. Let's go. Welcome back to the podcast Women in the Middle. I'm your host, Susie Rosenstein, your master certified coach and midlife mentor, and I am so glad to be here with you again for this week's episode, which is a special one. It's episode 400, which is hard to believe, I have to say, and I've got something special to share with you. I'm thrilled to participate in this third edition of Podcast-thon. For 1 week, more than 1,000 podcasts will highlight a charity of their choice. And today, I have the pleasure of welcoming the folks from Cape May Marine Mammal Research Center, the nonprofit arm of Cape May Whale Watch and Research Center in Cape May, New Jersey. Now, if you're a regular listener of the Women in the Middle podcast, I bet you're smiling right now because you know how much I love whales, whale watching, and all kinds of marine life. What a fun way to celebrate their amazing work and also the 400th episode of Women in the Middle. So get ready, grab your sunscreen and sunglasses and buckle up. We're going to take a deep dive into all of the good stuff. As I mentioned, this episode is part of Podcast-thon to support this really cool initiative with well over 1,000 podcast hosts simultaneously producing episodes that feature and support charities around the world. So if you're listening in real time, it is happening this week. And as a host, you get to pick a charity of your choice. So that's what I did. I was super excited when I found my guest today because you'll be meeting and learning about the folks at Cape May Marine Mammal Research Center, the nonprofit arm of Cape May Whale Watch and Research Center in Cape May, New Jersey. My guests today are Melissa Larino and Kathy McDool. Melissa Larino serves as the research director and a USCG 100-ton master captain with the Cape May Whale Watch and Research Center and Cape May Marine Mammal Research Center 501c3. She is a graduate from Stockton University with a Bachelor of Science and Master of Science in Marine Biology and Data Science and Analytics. She studies the local Cape May populations of marine mammals and curates the bottlenose dolphin and humpback whale catalogs using photo identification. For example, she does this by using photographs of natural markings of the whales and dolphins to individually recognize the animals. They have cataloged over 500 bottlenose dolphins and over 200 humpback whales. Okay, and Kathy McDool is a senior marine naturalist. She celebrated her 30th season working as a naturalist at the Cape May Whale Watch and Research Center and just turned 70. She is an inspiration to so many. The mission of the Cape May Marine Mammal Research Center is to promote the conservation of the marine mammals and their environment in Cape May, New Jersey through research, education, and outreach. As an avid whale watching enthusiast myself, I've personally been on over 50 whale watches since I discovered how amazing whales were way back in 1985 in Maine. I am absolutely delighted to share this important marine mammal research with you, this amazing organization, and I just know that this interview is going to inspire you in so many ways. So without further ado, please enjoy this episode. Hi, Melissa and Kathy. Thanks so much for joining me today on the Women in the Middle podcast.
Thank you so much for having us today. We're so happy to be here.
Thank you for having us. Happy to be here as well.
Oh my gosh, I am beside myself. As a listener of the podcast, you might be thinking, Susie, you finally did it. You got some whale experts on the podcast. Yes, I did. So I was so excited to participate in Podcast-thon and share the important work that you do. As soon as I had the opportunity, I knew I was looking for some whale people, and that would just delight me to no end. And I'm thrilled to be able to have you guys here today. Thank you so much. So we're going to start by each of you just introducing yourselves, a little bit about who you are and how you ended up working together at the Cape May Whale Watch Research Center in New Jersey. So take it away, Melissa.
Yes, thank you so much again for having us. My name is Melissa Larino. I'm the research director at the Cape May Whale Watch and Research Center and our nonprofit, the Cape May Marine Mammal Research Center. So I oversee all of our research and data collection procedures on a daily basis, as well as oversee our team of undergraduate and graduate interns that work with us every season to help us collect our data on board. I first started working on the American Star with the Cape May Whale Watch in 2013. So I actually started off as a research intern, and after a decade, I'm still with the business, and every day on the water is just absolutely incredible.
Wouldn't you like to say that about any job that you had, right? Every day on the water is just magical, basically, right? It's just so great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And Kathy, tell us a little bit about you.
My name is Kathleen McDowell, and I was born and raised in Cape May. I turned 70 last July.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. And I was a school teacher for 29 years, teaching special ed for 7th and 8th grade at a local school. But I started working on the Cape May Whale Watch and Research Center in the summer of 1995. And I needed a summer job, and I knew the owners that were there at that time, and I asked them for a job, and I showed up on Memorial Day weekend, and they put me behind the galley, and they liked my work. In 2 weeks, they were very happy with me, and they gave me a 50-cent raise. And there she wrote. Never anticipated that, and my first whale I saw, I can remember getting off the boat and being, we saw a whale, and running home to my then family, my husband, and saying, oh my gosh, we had a whale. So excited. But like I said, 30 years ago, can't believe it turned into that. And eventually I became a naturalist, and I've learned, like with Melissa, we've become very good friends besides workmates, colleagues. So, and I've learned from her, and learned from the captains, and she runs a great program with the interns, and they keep me young because they keep me in track. But as long as I can do this, I'm able to, I will, as long as they'll have me.
Oh, I love your story. And Melissa, you're quite a bit younger, and I love that the two of you work so well together. You're in your early 30s, right?
Yes, so I am 31 years old, and Kathy has grown to be one of the closest and best friends that I've ever had.
Oh, I love that. And that's such a fun thing about work these days, right? The intergenerational friendships that you can have, and your workspace, your work a day, your work during any day is so different than so many of us who are sitting at a desk or a cubicle. You're out and about, you're with the whales, you're with nature. And so with Melissa, your path was more predictable in terms of your interests in school and everything. And Kathy, you went rogue. like
I said, I always worked in the summer, and I wasn't going back to, I hostess, waitress, things like that. And I needed a job, and just never expected it to turn in. And I started out with different owners, and those people that I started out with, I'm still friends with. I've forged, friendships with those people, become best friends, with one of the people I started out with. So, it's been amazing how that has transpired and shared, like Melissa said, being out on the water. I don't want to my father had a boat business when I was growing up, but we didn't go out and boat. But I'm sure I didn't start it till after my father passed away, but I'm sure he would have been proud of me.
Oh, yeah.
Going out on the water, and proved to be seaworthy, which is important.
Because you really don't know that. Even though I love whale watching and I go as much as I possibly can, I always take the anti-nausea meds just in case because I don't want it to spoil my fun. And I've only had a problem once or twice in over 40 years. I didn't even count how many years it's been, decades of whale watching, but you really don't want it to ruin your fun. So I'm always prepared just in case.
That's a really good thing to do. And that's one of the most common questions we get about seasickness. And if you are not sure, just take the preventative just to be safe, because you don't want to ruin your experience. You're out there in nature. You want to see whales and dolphins. You don't want to be not feeling well during that time.
Yeah, you don't want to be puking. No fun. Spoils the fun. So tell me a little bit about what is going on, like the different parts of the two parts of the business, the Marine Mammal Research Center and the Whale Watch stuff. How do they differ?
Sure. So at the Cape May Whale Watch and Research Center, at the height of our season, from April to September, we sail on 3 trips a day every day. We have 2 2-hour dolphin watches and 1 3-hour whale watch that sails daily. Our entire season, though, does run from February to December. So we're whale watching pretty much throughout the entire year on different types of trips. We have pelagic trips where we go out 6 hours, 12 hours, and 24 hours at a time. Searching for whales, dolphins, birds, seals, anything that we could possibly find out in nature. But during all of those trips, so myself and our team of research interns, we're collecting data. So we collect photo identification data for whales and dolphins because we can identify them as an individual by looking at natural markings, some injuries that they may have, scars. And these are all things that we can use to learn more about these animals over long periods of time. The 2 most common species that we cite are humpback whales and bottlenose dolphins off our coast of Cape May, New Jersey. So that's where a lot of our research effort lies with those 2 species. But in addition to whale watching, with our nonprofit and our partners at the Cape May Point Science Center, we've begun dedicated dolphin surveys around the island of Cape May. We just finished our first full season of data collection, and we're getting ready to start actually in the next few weeks or so. So we're really excited for our second season doing those dedicated surveys. The dedicated surveys allow us more time on the water to photograph our dolphins and look at some of the abnormalities or other things that we may not necessarily have the time to do when we're out on the whale watching vessel.
Wow, this summer I had an opportunity to go whale watching in Cape Cod, and I saw something that I'd never seen before, and it was a research zodiac full of, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 people, and they were putting, I think, suction cup type things on a long stick on the whales, and I never saw that before, but it was fun to watch. And have you done that personally?
I personally have not, but maybe one day. A lot of the research that we do is just strictly photo identification. So we're counting how many animals are present in the group. Are there any calves or juveniles? Are they feeding? Are they mating? We are videoing some of the unique behaviors that we have. We hope to also expand our research too, incorporating some drones to get more accurate counts on some of the massive dolphin herds of hundreds and hundreds of dolphins that we see off our coast. So we're not physically touching any of the animals. And this is important to note because whales and dolphins are a protected species under the Marine Mammal Protection Act of 1972. So it is illegal to hunt, harm, harass, feed, or swim with any wild marine mammal species in United States coastal waters. So when we're out on the water, whether we're on the American Star or the research vessel, there's many different rules and regulations that we have to follow. And that is extremely important because we do understand and also respect that that's their space. That's their home. We're visitors to their home. We're visitors to their living room. So we should be giving them that utmost respect that they do deserve.
Thank you for sharing that. And yeah, you don't want to see boats chasing down the animals. We've seen that on the water and it's just not appropriate. And it sounds like it's breaking the law.
It is breaking the law. And it's unfortunate because it is something that we do document a lot in Cape May. Especially, with smaller vessels, jet skiers, kayakers. And sometimes it could be difficult on the whale watching boat, but you have to assume that the person that's approaching these animals or maybe harassing them, maybe they don't know. So that's Kathy and myself. It's our role as a naturalist to, we're on the mic, we're giving the guided tour. We're pointing out, the vessels, the kayakers, the jet skiers, they can hear us. So we're educating the people while we're out on the water to help promote the marine conservation of these species.
Oh, I love that. I love that. It was very unusual thing to see, and you could tell that they were following strict protocols, those researchers that I saw. Yes. But I just had never seen anything like that, and I was very grateful. I think that's such an important role to share the importance of research with people who are just, have no idea what's going on. For
sure. And I think that marks another excellent point that while we're whale watching, we're getting tours. We're in a summer destination. So we get millions and millions of people in Cape May, New Jersey from all over the world. Mm-hmm. And Kathy and I have the opportunity to show them so many things for the first time, which is exciting, but it's also really important to us too that we are spreading that education message. How do we protect our marine mammals?
Has anything surprised you when you've been out there in terms of what people know and what they don't know? I can share what surprised me. This really surprised me, but it was a fun surprise. When I was on the small boat, the first time I did that gray whale watching trip in Mexico, the whale came right up to the boat and we had an encounter where we were both staring at each other, our eye to eye, and the whale was not far away from me at all, like right at the boat. And then she blinked. And it just never occurred to me that a whale would blink, even though I know a whale's a mammal, but it just didn't occur to me to see the blink. And the other thing you could see when you were so close was the whiskers. These hairs that come out of the front of the gray whale's nose area. It just surprised me that there would be hair.
Oh yeah. Yep. That's one of the defining characteristics of mammals.
Exactly. And the blinking, but it surprised me. Even though I know a whale is a mammal, it still surprised me to see that because we don't get opportunities that often to see something so up close and personal. So that surprised me.
At one time, the whale came up right next to the boat. We weren't harassing it at all, but it's called mugging. And they just came right up to the boat, and it did look up at us, both at the same time. And you could, because the humpback whales, their eyes are located back by their jaw. So the way it situated itself, you could see that. That was very surprising. And I've only seen that a couple of times, but they would call mugging.
What a beautiful experience.
Yeah.
And then, of course, as a photographer, to catch that. One thing that surprised me after I finally went whale watching and decided, because I flew to where I was going and I didn't bring my big camera. And I thought, I'm going to try it this time just with my iPhone. Okay. Some things went well and some things did not go as well. And so if you're interested in taking great pictures on a whale watch, it's very important to understand whale behavior before you can expect to get a really great shot, but I found that the iPhone made it much easier to take video. Definitely. But for photography, it was okay if they came really close, but if they didn't come close, it just wasn't that much fun. Have you had a lot of questions about photography on the whale watches?
We do get a lot of really good photographers that come on our vessel, and on some of those pelagic birding trips that we do, these cameras that some of our passengers bring on are just incredible, and the photos that they take of these little tiny birds sitting on the water will come out crystal clear. But even if you don't have that really good camera, if you do keep your iPhone on the video mode, I have found that, you can get lucky capturing some really good videos. And, even if the animals are further away, because you're following those wildlife viewing guidelines, which are so important, you can still capture the whole picture as a whole. So you can see the whole pod of hundreds of dolphins traveling together instead of maybe like a camera that would focus on just one.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. And that is important to also appreciate everything that's going on. It's not just one animal, but it's really the whale behaviors are so fascinating. And
Yes.
to see a dolphin, like a massive group like that, it's very exciting. I've only seen that once, and it was really fantastic.
In Cape May, we see herds of bottlenose dolphins, of offshore transient bottlenose dolphins, where it's not uncommon to sight a group of about 500 animals offshore during July, August, and September.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
The other thing that you said that surprised me is just that there's so much going on in Cape May, New Jersey. So I grew up in the Philadelphia suburbs, and it never occurred to me to go whale watching close to home. I always thought I have to go someplace, far away to see some great whale watching. And it wasn't that way at all. Who knew?
Yeah, and that's a common misconception too, but we have a lot of whales and a lot of dolphins here off our Jersey shore, and even seals now during the winter too.
Wow. That's really interesting. I'm kind of embarrassed that it didn't occur to me all these years. So what's it like to work with so many people that are so passionate about marine wildlife conservation?
You're opening that up to me.
You can both comment on it. Kathy, what do you think?
Well, like I said, throughout the years, everyone that I've worked with has always been passionate about whales and dolphins. So everyone that I've met along the way has educated me, as well as, being out there in the ocean and the bay and observing, dolphins and whales throughout the years. So, and then, like I said, when Melissa came on board, that was 13 years ago, and that was when the boat started the internship. And so, me being older, although at that point in time I was still teaching 7th and 8th grade, being with college students has enlightened me. And like I said, kept me abreast of things and kept me in line. And
I love that. I also just love the idea of being with like-minded people at work, because a lot of times at work, it's not that way, but you're with people who are really, really passionate about conservation, about research, and about sharing the love of whale watching with so many people, especially young kids. So that's something I wanted to ask you about. Having this podcast and talking to women 50 and over, a lot of women who are older have grandkids. And I don't have grandkids yet, but it's such an amazing, there's so much potential there to educate and to share the love of being outside like this and the ocean and marine life. So what can you say about ways to help people who have the opportunity to share the love with young people? What can they do?
We get on the American Star, we get a lot of grandparents during the summer months that are bringing their grandkids out, and it is an amazing opportunity for kids of all ages. Something that really sticks out to me about that is it's an opportunity for the kids to put their phones down, put the iPads down, and just experience nature. And that is such a unique opportunity today, because I feel like, we're seeing less and less of that. And when you get out in nature, even if it's not whale watching, even if it's just, going for a walk outside, having that no screen time, I think is really important. But on an eco tour, you're learning. It's a wonderful environment. Kids are sponges and they are just picking up everything. We have a guided tour where the naturalist is speaking about everything we're sighting throughout the trip, not just whales and dolphins, but birds, history. Kathy is amazing with history, all different types of facts about Cape May. And I think that it's so hard to find an opportunity like that, but nature offers that wonderful opportunity for kids.
We also have a touch tank, that our interns present the touch tank. where we have a horseshoe crab. We're licensed for that, and maybe a couple other critters, so that at the end of our two of our trips, we'll open up the touch tank, and the kids can come, and the interns or one of the naturalists, but interns will, bring the horseshoe crab out of the touch tank and show it to them and tell them about it, and they get to touch it.
Yeah, it's a really good hands-on learning experience, and kids love it.
And sometimes that's like the highlight of the trip for the kids.
I can see that. Some kids,
they get to touch it, but usually a lot of times, the dolphins, they're liking to see the dolphins, because they're very active. And when we were fortunate, like our last trip of the season, what did we have? 4 whales, Melissa?
Yep, 4 whales.
4 whales. And really, for the first time in my 30 years, we had a baby whale, and that was a baby whale. Remember? I mean, it was really little, and that was the smallest humpback whale I had ever seen.
Is a little tiny ton, right? 1 ton baby, something like that.
I mean, it was active. It was so it was cute. It was coming up and.
Yeah, we were really fortunate to sight that mom and calf pair. That was one of the smallest humpback whale calves that I've seen in our area too.
Wow, that's so great.
On the pelagic trips, though, because they go out on these pelagic trips that go like 60 miles off the coast. And
what does pelagic mean?
So pelagic means offshore. So on our pelagic trips, we go as far out as 50 to 100 miles, depending on how much time we have.
Okay, got it. Okay, thank you for that. And can you share with us some humpback facts and some dolphin facts? I would just love to have some of that information. I know the humpbacks are easy to spot because their tails, when they dive, that you could see the white. So I find that was always a relief to me right away. When I saw a humpback, I'm like, okay, I know what's going on here.
Yeah, so we partner with an organization known as Whale Sense that promotes responsible viewing techniques for eco tours to ensure that you're following those marine mammal guidelines. So off our coast of New Jersey, we can view many different types of whales, but the most common type of whale that we sight are the humpback whales. And humpback whales can travel as far north as Maine, Nova Scotia during the summer months to feed, popular feeding destinations off Cape Cod. And then during the winter months, they can head as far south as the Dominican Republic. That's where our humpback whales go to calve. And when we view humpback whales here off our coast of New Jersey, which we can spot and observe here year round, the majority of whales that we're sighting here are subadults, or the teenager whales, younger whales in our area, because we have a whale buffet for them. So we have tons of their favorite food. Atlantic menhaden, or bunker, is a commonly referred term for that fish. But humpback whales are coming here to New Jersey just to feed. So this is not their mating ground and not their birthing ground. So whenever we see a humpback whale close to our Jersey shore, the majority of the time we're just seeing one single whale at a time. We do have sightings where we have maybe 2 whales traveling together for short periods, but the majority of the time, it's just one single whale at a time. They're coming here to feed. Maybe they'll stay here for a few days, and then maybe they'll leave our area. Maybe they'll visit our friends down in Virginia Beach. Maybe they'll head up to New York. So it's really important when we're spotting these whales that we're not just educating our passengers about it, but while we're out there on the water, we are collecting that data. We are collecting that research. So we photo identify humpback whales as individual animals by looking at the underside of their tail, or fluke fin. The unique black and white colorations that they have, or other scars, make them very easy to identify over long periods of time. And we collaborate with researchers all throughout the East Coast to learn more about the migration and movement of not just humpback whales, but also our coastal bottlenose dolphins. So dolphins are a little bit different in terms of their migration, where we have dolphins here spring, summer, and fall, but we're seeing the same dolphins almost every day. And we know them all really well. Kathy knows them really well too. Kathy's been seeing some of these dolphins longer than I have. The dolphins have actually become some of my closest friends in terms of studying them over, so many years and seeing the same ones year after year. Whereas every time we sight a whale, a lot of the time we're sighting a new individual whale that we have not spotted before in our area. And the dolphins are utilizing our area as their feeding, mating, and birthing ground. So that's why they stay here for a prolonged period of time, the same ones.
How are you identifying the dolphins?
Well, we identify dolphins by looking at their dorsal fin. That is their own version of the human fingerprint. So dolphin dorsal fins have different nicks, notches, scars, or some will have white patches, which would be similar to what a birthmark maybe would be to you or I. It doesn't change that much over time.
Through the research that Melissa does, the interns do, Melissa has created a catalog. In fact, she's created two. One for dolphins of almost 500.
Yep, we have over 500 individual bottlenose dolphins that we've documented.
So we have a catalog, and they have our interns take photographs. Melissa she's a phenomenal photographer, and so they have been documented in our catalog, and each one is numbered, and some of them are named. Chippy, who is one of our favorite dolphins.
I was just going to ask you, Kathy, who your favorite was. Is Chippy?
Well, Tippy, we haven't seen for a couple of years, but throughout my 30 years, Tippy, I'm not sure if it was the same Tippy, but they had the same. I might correct Melissa on that one, but we saw Tippy for a long, long time. Trisket has a triangular shaped dorsal fin, and Saltine, we have, Melissa's 245. 245 has actually like a curvature of its back. So, and blows bubbles when it comes up out of the water. So we know 245 and Granny does pretty much the same. So it's like we're out there with our friends. But Melissa has also created a catalog of humpback whales, about a little over 200 that we sighted along the coast.
Yes. Yeah. And photo identification is important too, because it allows our passengers to connect. So some of these names may sound silly, like Tippy, Trisket, we have Thunder, Lightning, Pearl. So some of these names may sound a little silly, but when you leave that eco tour, so going back to, the grandparents bringing their grandchildren, it's very heartwarming for me to hear young kids on the boat point out, like, there's Trisket, who has a very distinct triangular shaped dorsal fin that you don't have to be a marine mammal expert to spot Trisket because his dorsal fin is so unique. And that's a telltale sign that what we are doing on the American Star is making a huge impact to everyone of all ages.
Oh my gosh, that makes me so happy. I am so thrilled to have had the opportunity to talk to you both today and to bring more awareness to what's going on in Cape May and the importance of conservation and the love that you can share with your families for nature. And, it makes such an impact. As you were talking, I was remembering that my grandmother used to take me to watch the ducks when I was very, very young. And it was such a thing I loved to do. And then that made a big impact on me. And then my dad took me deep sea fishing and mounted a barracuda that I caught when I was 12 as a surprise for me. So in this house, I still have it. I took it to every dorm, every apartment. I'm schlepping around that mounted barracuda fish that I caught in 1974. And so
that is such a nice story.
Well, it just came to me as you were talking about where, I have a big fish tank too. Where did these things come from? And as grandparents, as women, as people who care about nature and have younger people in our lives, it's such a great opportunity to instill, even getting them beautiful books, storybooks, and read story. There's so many great books out there. Anyway, it was so much fun to talk to you both. I loved it. So how can people get a hold of you? How can they go on your whale watch? How can they make a donation?
Sure. So we'll provide a link for our donation, the Cape May Marine Mammal Research Center. It is tax deductible. And you can join us. You can join Kathy and I on the American Star in Cape May, New Jersey. We're docked just near the Lobster House, the Cape May Whale Watch and Research Center.
I'm going to make a personal request to hang out with you guys. Hopefully,
Come visit us.
I will. The next time I'm around, I will, because I do go visit family often. So I can't wait. Kathy and Melissa, thanks again. I really appreciate your time. And I encourage everybody who is curious about more whales to dive in, pun intended. And whales and dolphins can really, really brighten your life and give you, I don't know, it's just brought me so much enjoyment. I've had spiritual encounters. I loved the nature photography. I love it so much. It's like a hobby that keeps on giving because there's always something else you can learn. And it's just so wonderful to be out on the water like that. So to have naturalists and experts with you so that you can continue to learn and grow with something you love like this, it's a beautiful thing. So thank you so, so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having us.
Okay, that is it for today's episode. I hope you're feeling inspired by whale watching, marine research, and conservation. I also hope you're inspired by the Podcast-thon initiative. You know, Melissa, Kathy, and I continued our conversation a bit after we finished recording. You can see that both of these women found what they love to do, and they're doing it. Kathy mentioned how she received a good work ethic from growing up in her family and how it has helped her with her long-term employment longevity between 40 and 70 years old with her job on the boat. She found something different and discovered so much about herself as well as the whales and dolphins. And Melissa was onto herself earlier and studied marine biology in university. Having jobs in nature and specifically on the water with whales, dolphins, and marine life has brought them both such joy and happiness. And you know what? That, my friend, is how you regret-proof your life. If you've enjoyed this and want to hear more, please feel free to visit www.podcasthon.org to discover hundreds of other associations through the voices and talents of amazing podcasters from around the world. And if you're anything like me, you know what I'll be doing in Cape May, New Jersey as soon as possible. There are some amazing whales just waiting to be watched by me and hopefully maybe you too. To make a donation and support their research, please go to www.capemayWhaleWatch.com/research/ and of course this information is in the show notes. Okay, that's a wrap. Now remember, being the queen of your brain domain is the best way to be. If you want to get unstuck, clear about what you want with the confidence and courage to go after it, then don't waste another minute. Go ahead and book your free insight and momentum call with me and apply for the Women in the Middle Academy. Let's see if coaching together makes sense for you. Head over to www.womeninthemiddleacademy.com. The Women in the Middle podcasts are all about how to love your life again after 50 with more clarity and intention than ever before. And the focus is on coaching you to incorporate mindfulness as a regular practice. This is how you put yourself on your agenda, and it is about time. And finally, for show notes and links, head over to www.susierosenstein.com and click the podcast tab and look for episode 400, where you will find all of the contact links for today's episode. You'll also see links there for my new show, Women in the Middle Entrepreneurs. Thank you so very much for listening over the years. It really is time for you to put yourself first, one thought at a time. Seriously, let's do this. I'm Susie Rosenstein, and I'll talk to you next week.